Hello everyone, this is Logan59XP here for a completely impromptu, not expected reaction here because apparently I woke up about an hour ago and the very first thing I saw, I didn't go on YouTube, but I looked at like the notifications, and what was the first thing I saw? The first thing I saw was one of my friends tagged me on YouTube saying, "Hey Logan, look, the Switch 2 got revealed." And immediately I was like, "Wait, what? No, they didn't announce it. If they announced it, they would have told us beforehand, tune in at 10 a.m. like last time. There has to be build up. You don't just shadow drop the Switch 2." Well, apparently I was wrong. They did shadow drop the Switch 2. Now, first things first, Nate the Hate, props to you. You got this right. I know people are like, yeah, oh yeah, he's totally gonna be correct. Like he was right about the Switch Pro and about this and that. But he was actually right this time. I don't watch Nate the Hate personally, but he was the one that was saying January 16th. And he was right. So props to him for getting that right, I suppose. But I'm not gonna lie and say I'm not kind of annoyed because I missed out on the initial reveal, which I don't even know when the video was uploaded, because I haven't looked because I don't want to be spoiled on anything yet beyond what I've already been spoiled on. And spoiler alert, I've already been spoiled on one thing that's in the trailer that's kind of important, but I won't tell you what that is until we get to that part in the trailer. But why did they not tell us about this? Why would they shadow drop this? That honestly really annoys me that they just shadow dropped this. Like, this isn't the Switch OLED. This isn't the Switch Lite. This is the Switch 2. You can't just shadow drop your next generation console like that. You have to do the tweet with the Mario and the curtains. Maybe they did and it just happened after I went to bed. So I don't know. But as far as I know, again, I haven't looked, but as far as I know, there was no build up or anything. They just dropped the trailer like a few hours ago or whatever. And that's just it. So I'm personally not thrilled about that, but hey, at least the thing is finally here. After all this time, after all this anticipation, we can finally say the Switch 2 is officially revealed. So I guess that's what matters. Now, like I've said, I've already been spoiled on at least one thing that's in the trailer. So that's great. Oh well, it is what it is, I suppose, at this point. I'm not going to tell you what it is, so if any of you are watching the Switch 2 with me for the first time, thank you for choosing me to be the person to watch the Switch 2 reveal trailer with. And don't worry, I will not spoil anything that's in the trailer that I already know. And I know at least one thing that's in it, but I will not tell you what it is. So don't worry. So I guess with all that preamble out of the way, I mean, heck, it's been long enough. Let's just go ahead and watch this thing. So as you can see, because I was super paranoid about getting spoiled by anything else, the only thing I wanted to see was what is the thumbnail on the official upload. And the thumbnail, and this is not going to be a spoiler to anyone that's been paying attention to any of the leaks, the Switch 2 looks exactly like the leaks. The most recent leaks from the last couple of weeks from CES and stuff. I mean, not exactly CES, because of course they didn't have the Switch 2 at CES. They had like mock-ups and renders and stuff. Point is, it looks like the most recent leaks. So those guys were right too, I suppose. But anyway, okay, enough of the preamble. Sorry, but I just feel like I have to give this little thing beforehand because of the fact that they shadow dropped this and didn't tell us about it. And because of that, I didn't watch this the literal instant it went up, like I did with the original Switch reveal back in October of 2016, but oh well. Okay, enough preamble for real this time. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Nintendo Switch 2 first look. Here we go. The regular Switch from 2017. And then I gotta switch over to the new one. Bigger screen, like the OLED, although we don't know if it is going to be an OLED. USB-C. Headphone jack. There's the Type-C port from the leaks. Oh, that's the new... Okay, so that's how the new Okay. So it's not exactly the same as the OLED. For that. So yeah, there's that extra. Wait. So yeah, there's an extra button. It's not a C button though, unless they're about to show it. So yeah, the magnetic Joy-Con rails, all that stuff was accurate. The color scheme from the last couple of leaks have been accurate. So there's the IR sensor for the mouse thing people have speculated on. So yeah, I mean, all of those recent leaks are basically true. Yeah, the magnetic. Two. Just keeping it simple. Which I personally don't mind, but I'm sure some people are going to be annoyed that they didn't do like a real new name. But hey, if PlayStation can do it, then why not them? Okay, so here's Mario Kart. So I was spoiled on this. I was spoiled on that Mario Kart was going to be in here. This is a new game. This is not 8 Deluxe. I can tell it's not 8 Deluxe. You wanna know how I know it's not 8 Deluxe? Because the character models are different. Okay, hold on. Let's pause. Play Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games as well as Nintendo Switch games, both physical and digital. No duh. They literally told us this a few months ago, and they'd be absolutely insane to not have it be backwards compatible. It was obviously going to be backwards compatible. Also, 2025. Yeah, no freaking duh, it's 2025. Ooh, they're not playing around. That's a long time from now, though. Oh man, that's brutal. But okay, they're not gonna make us wait. I mean, they are making us wait, but they're like at least telling us. They've made us wait this long for them to show the thing, but they're at least telling us, okay, April 2nd is when they're going to do, probably not I mean, obviously it's a direct, it's not, because I was thinking that they were going to do, like, the Switch presentation where it's like a press conference, but just for the Switch 2. I'm guessing they're not doing that unless this is going to be, like, a really special Nintendo Direct or something that changes up the format, but the point is, we're going to get our big Switch 2 event in April. Oh man, so obviously it's not coming out in March. I mean, not that anyone was expecting that at this point, because if it was going to come out in March, they would have told us that like in October. But okay, Switch 2 Direct confirmed. Alrighty then, so there we go. Overall, a pretty simple trailer, basically just, and this is what we were rumored. It was rumored that the trailer was going to be basically just showcasing the hardware with like a very minimal focus on software. But I knew that they were going to squeeze in at least one game, and apparently Mario Kart was the game they decided to throw in there. So let's go ahead and watch that trailer again. Now I'm going to go ahead and analyze Mario Kart because that's obviously like a big deal, you know, Mario Kart. And I'm pretty sure that's a new game. I don't think that is 8 Deluxe Super Ultra Remaster or whatever. No, I think that is indeed Mario Kart 9 or whatever they're gonna call it, because the character models for the characters are different. We'll look over that in a bit. So yeah, they start with the 2017 Switch, and then they go to the Switch OLED, and then they go to the Switch 2. See, I didn't realize that upon the first viewing, that they actually were going to do two transitions there. So yeah, bottom USB-C port. And then we got this USB Type-C on the top. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of this is going to be beyond giving you an extra port to like charge your controller with or whatever. I'm sure that modders and, you know, homebrewers will find a good use for that port. Oh, don't you worry. But in terms of official use, I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that's going to be, beyond just simply giving you an extra charge port for your controller or something. But obviously, we'll find out what that actually does, presumably in that Switch 2 Direct in April. Good old headphone jack, so don't worry. Headphone jack is staying. It's not going anywhere. Of course, we did get support for Bluetooth on the Switch a few years ago, but of course, for people that are still holding on to that good old 3.5mm plug, it's still there, and they should, obviously. You know, headphone jack is great. I personally don't use headphone jack for my main headphones anymore. I'm mostly wireless, but obviously it's great that they're keeping that on, for sure, and they're not pulling an Apple and removing it. Um, Now, this I think is kind of interesting because this might be worse than the OLEDs. It probably isn't. But the original Switch kickstand is infamously kind of lousy. You can break off relatively easily. You can put it back on easily, but it wasn't great. It's pretty kind of there. The OLED one, now I don't have an OLED. I'm still rocking my original like April 2017 like launch era Switch from nearly 8 years ago. God, the Switch is old. We all know it. That's why we've been begging for this for so long. But but the Switch OLED's kickstand is significantly better. And this is like a halfway point. It's worse on paper than the OLEDs, but it's still better than the originals. It's probably going to be fine. It's just there's way less material. So that's why I'm kind of wondering, like, is it going to be a little more, is going to be more breakable? I mean, I think by default it has to be more breakable. It's probably fine. It's probably fine. It's still a big improvement over the original kickstand from 2017, but it's just now it doesn't have all that plastic in the middle to rely on, so I don't know. But anyways, that's what that looks like. See, I fully expected them to just keep the OLED kickstand, not change it at all. Okay, so I just realized something. This is very crucial. The Joy-Cons are bigger. Now, I guess that's not surprising because the screen is bigger. And not just bigger in the Switch OLED way, where it's the same form factor, but there's just smaller bezels. Like, no. The console itself is bigger. And because of that, the Joy-Cons have to be bigger to accommodate it. But that, combined with the fact that it's magnetic, means that the original Joy-Cons, at least, are not going to be physically compatible. Now, I still think there's a good chance that the Joy-Cons will work with it in the same way that you can use an Xbox One controller on your Series X or a PS4 controller on your PS5, although only in PS4 games. I personally believe this is going to be a Wii U scenario where all your old controllers will still work. At the very least on existing games, like it is on PS5 or PS4. But it'll probably work for newer ones as well, for the most part, because as far as we can tell, there's no analog triggers, which I will say is disappointing. I think the original Switch should have had analog triggers, let alone the Switch 2. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't. At least going off of the images from the recent leaks and this, I don't see anything that looks like analog triggers. Now maybe they'll surprise us at that April event and they'll say, actually, it is analog. And if it is, great. But if it isn't, then I see no reason why all the existing controllers can't just work in even the Switch 2 games. But unless it requires like that IR sensor or whatever. But so there is an extra button, but it's not labeled C. All of the leaks said that it would be like a C button, quote unquote, and we didn't really know what that meant, and we still don't really know what that means. But there is an extra button on the right Joy-Con. But yeah, and also it's so yeah, let's just keep going. So yeah, it's gonna be so the Joy-Cons, at least the default ones, obviously like the original Switch, they're gonna have a billion colors, but the original launch Joy-Cons are going to presumably be they're going to be black with red and blue accents on the underneath the stick and on the side railing with all this stuff. Now, one thing that I can say is definitely a big improvement is this, the L&R button equivalents for the Joy-Cons when you're just using them on their own. On the current Switch with the current Joy-Cons, you basically have to use the little like slide-in thing for them to be worth anything. But with this, it looks like you'll actually be able to like push down the buttons to a decent extent, so you probably won't need to have the little slide-on wrist strap thing anymore to actually use those buttons in a reasonable way. So that's nice. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have a slide-on thing that's better that you get with the box, but I'm just saying that's an improvement right there. And then, of course, there's the magnetic holder and there's the IR sensor. Oh, okay. So wait, no, wait. So no, that's the slide-on thing. So this is the new slide-on thing. And they're actually color-coded. That's kind of cool. They're not just black. Now, this logo, let's talk about this logo real quick. Now, this logo is probably the most basic logo they could have come up with for this system. So I guess let's go ahead and address the name. Let's talk about the name real quick, because we've been calling it the Switch 2 for the last couple of years, just as a shorthand, in the same way that we called the Switch Pro the Switch Pro. They were never going to call it the Switch Pro. They would have called it the Switch Plus or the Switch Max or some other name. They would have never called it the Pro. They wouldn't have directly copied Sony. But we called it the Switch Pro because everyone knew what that meant. You know, PS4 Pro, therefore Switch Pro. Better Switch. Like, you didn't have to explain what it was. If you said Switch Pro, people would have been like, oh, so like the PS4 Pro, so better Switch. Like, that's why we called it that. No one actually thought they were going to legitimately call it that if it actually existed. And I personally still believe to this day that the Switch OLED was going to be the Pro, but then they cut back on it at the last second because of the part shortage, because of the pandemic and everything. So I personally subscribe to that belief, like Digital Foundry does. But that aside, the Switch 2, I didn't think they were going to call it that. I thought they would come up with at least something. I thought it was probably still going to be Switch something, but I didn't really know what it would be. But I guess they figured, you know what? Let's not confuse the public. Let's not pull another Wii U scenario where we come up with some weird name that doesn't clearly tell you what it is. But this, it's very clear and straightforward. Switch 2. It's the next generation Switch, in the same way that the PS5 was the next generation PS4. You know, like, it works. It works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's the safest name they could have chosen, yes. And would it have been neat if they had a better, more creative name like they normally do? Sure. But at the same time, it's just a better Switch. In the same way that the 3... See, so you want to know what the Switch 2 is? And I knew this was going to be the case a long time ago. The Switch 2 is the 3DS of the Switch. Same thing, better in every way. But doesn't radically change the concept. It's still dockable. It still has Joy-Cons. You can still play it in portable or docked. All that stuff from the Switch that everyone loves is still there. But it's bigger, more powerful, more robust. Just plain better. And sure, the 3DS had the 3D functionality, and it had a widescreen, whereas the DS had a 4x3 screen, but you get the point. I guess my main thing is, I get if people are disappointed that it's just called the Switch 2, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and frankly, the console itself is more important than the name. So I personally don't have a problem with it, but yeah. Although the logo is a little... I mean, like, this is exactly the same as it was, like, 9 years ago when they revealed the dang thing in October of 2016. This is exactly the same. And this is obviously the same. And then they just put a 2 next to it. But again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, now let's get to the part that I'm sure everyone's going to be really interested in. Let's talk about... Oh, yeah. Oh, so hold on a second. This is interesting. So you can see all the little, like, you know, FCC and whatnot stuff over here, but there's none of that on here. Now, maybe that's just because it's the trailer and they want it to be cleaner, but then why would they have it on the Joy-Cons? So on the current Switch, you know, you got all your little, you know, FCC, C, all your little, all your, different regulation stuff, and, your don't throw it in the trash, and all your little, made in China, copyright, all this stuff would normally be down here, but it's not there. Now, is that just because it's the trailer and they want it to be nice and clean for this part and it will be there on the real unit, or is it not going to be there at all? That's got a little interesting. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, This is a new game. This is not a remaster. This is not a Mario Kart 8 plus plus. No, 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 no. Look at that Mario model. Look how his cheeks are chubbier. Also, notice how all of the vehicles are like new vehicles. This is a new game. This is a new game. So there's the dock. This was also in the recent leaks, like how it's going to be curved. Although, isn't the Switch OLED dock also curved? I don't know. Yeah, no. This is a new game. This is a new game, 100%. Also, look at that. They got classic DK. They got classic DK back there. That's a bit surprising. I'm sure they'll have regular, modern, rareware DK as well. But they got like classic, a classic DK option, if nothing else. I don't think they're going to literally just have it be that. They probably will have the original still, but... Oh, so there's the new Joy-Con holder. It looks the same. Although it's got shiny bits on it. I wonder if it's going to have the charge port by default instead of having to buy a separate one. Oh, that's another thing too. Let's go back. That boost panel is completely different. That's a completely different boost panel, and no. This is Mario Kart 9. This is not 8 Deluxe Super Ultra Mega Edition. This is 100% Deluxe. So obviously this is taking place, like this map, this track is taking place like, in like, the desert, and you got your little your little Denny's, like little thing that, is kind of a stereotype of like the middle of nowhere in the desert. Is that an item box? That's an item box right there. And that again is a brand new item box. So yeah, this is definitely a new Mario Kart. Now I will say this is probably not the best map to show off like how good it probably looks. But this is definitely not. But I can tell that this is definitely not made. This is not made by. This is not Booster Course. This is definitely, even though this is a very plain looking map because it's a desert, I can still tell like just by that building alone that like this is not the tour team porting over tracks like it was with the Booster Course pass. Like, nah. This is definitely the game that they've been working on probably for the last like 4 or 5 years, or who knows how long. But then 2025. But then again, this really should go without saying. I know there were some people that were gonna be pessimistic, and we're gonna be like, oh no, they're gonna make you rebuy everything, and it's like, no, they're not. Nintendo is weird and annoying sometimes, but they're not stupid. They're not going to make you rebuy literally every single game just to play it on the new system. Of course, you're going to be able to play all your old games. Now, will they run better on the new system like it is if you play a PS4 game on the PS5? That we don't know yet. I hope that's the case. But for all we know, it runs exactly the same. But we'll see. But at least we know 1000% that it's supported, even though, again, Furukawa told us it would be in November, but it's nice to see it on the screen, and it's physical and digital. So for everyone that was worried that it was going to be, some like weird, only digital. No. All your games will work. All your games will work. It'll all carry over. No problem. I like this little thing they have going here, the little beat. It's not the ha yeah of the original trailer, but it's still okay. So this obviously, this is obvious. Now this right here is very telling. This right here is very telling because it means that so the rumors from CES were that it was going to come out in April. And that still could very much be the case. Let's make that clear. That could still very, very much be the case. But the fact that they're doing the event in April tells me that they're cutting it close. So this is probably going to come out like, my guess, I'm going to make up a random date. This is probably going to be wrong because they tend to release stuff on Fridays, and I don't know which days are Fridays in April. Let's just make up a random number and say it'll come out on April 24th. So it's not March. I mean, again, it obviously wasn't going to be March at this point, because if it was going to be in March, they would have revealed the thing in October like they did last time, but yeah. So I will say, I am just a little bit, just a little bit disappointed that it's not like a live presentation like the original Switch, because we don't get those anymore. And for what it's worth, I wasn't really around for the days when Nintendo did, you know, press conferences at E3. That kind of happened after I started following this stuff. Like, I didn't get into like following like news and events until like the Wii U era. So, and their last main press conference was 2012. So, I wasn't really there for like, you know, watching the conferences when they came out. So I was, you know, I very much came in during the Nintendo Direct era of doing announcements, and that's been perfectly fine, obviously. But I thought it was cool how in 2017 they brought back the presentation format for that event. So it would have been cool if they did it again. And for all we know, maybe this is a presentation. They're just not calling it that. They're just calling it Direct now because Direct is even more established than it was in 2017. So they want to keep that brand name going, but the actual event will still be a pre-recorded press conference. Maybe it would be a more accurate term. Maybe it'll be a pre-recorded press conference, but it'll still be a press conference as opposed to just the generic narrator, which I think is Kevin Afghani, actually. Just doing all the stuff. I'm sure this Direct is going to be more than your standard Direct with the standard voiceover and the standard transitions. It will probably be more like the digital events of the past, like from 2014, 2015, also the 2017 Nintendo Spotlight, where they're Directs, but they're like special Directs and they're treated differently and formatted differently and have a different aesthetic. I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. I don't want this to just be a carbon copy Nintendo Direct like we've had for forever. I hope this is a special Direct that is befitting of Nintendo's next generation hardware, but we'll see. But at least they told us, so we're not going to be sitting here waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks for them to announce something. We at least know. We know when it's going to be shown off, presumably next. My assumption is we're not going to hear anything on it up until that point, which is gonna be annoying, I will say. But actually, yeah, because originally for the original reveal in 2016, they had that initial, you know, yeah, they had that trailer in October 2016, and then it was nothing until the January 2017 presentation, and then after that, it was that till March. So my guess is they're doing the same thing again, where we get our first teaser, and then we get nothing up until the actual event. or at least virtually nothing. And they might have like a little thing here and there. Like, for example, when we inevitably get the February Pokemon Presents, the Pokemon Company can finally say, hey, look, Z to A is going to be switched to enhanced or whatever. Now they can actually say that because Nintendo revealed the dang thing. But who knows? But yeah, so I will say that that's a longer wait than I would like. Obviously, for how long we've waited, I would have hoped it would have been sooner. But I guess it really does. It does line up with what they did last time. Because again, October to January. October reveal, January presentation, March release. So if assuming that they're doing that same thing again, then January reveal, April event, and May, June release? I mean, again, the recent rumors from CES have been April, so they're going to release this, like, presumably weeks after this event. And that could still be a thing, but for all we know, it could be in May or June. But we'll see. But, yeah, so, yeah, Switch to Direct, yeah, you have the point. And they're going to have hands-on events. I believe they did that for the original Switch as well, so that's not really surprising. Alrighty then, I think that we've basically covered everything. I mean, I guess I could really briefly, I mean, there's nothing really much to say about the hardware. I mean, obviously they're not going to tell us the specs. I mean, this is Nintendo we're talking about. They're not going to tell us, this thing has 12 gigs of RAM, this thing supports DLL. They're not going to tell us that, at least not right now. Maybe they'll tell us that later on like, the website, but they're not going to tell us in the video, because Nintendo doesn't really talk about stuff like that, even though I kind of wish they would. But I get it, that's not their thing. Talking about hardware specs is not their thing, because hardware specs are not really their thing, but But yeah, in terms of the hardware though, there's honestly not a ton to say about it because it's basically just the recent leaks. Like, it's basically just all of that. The IR sensor, the magnetic, Joy-Cons, the bigger screen. And we don't know if it's an OLED or if it's an LCD or not. We don't know if it's going to be 1080p or 720p. So I am curious about that. But yeah, but the USB-C port on the top, like, if you've seen the recent leaks from the last couple of weeks, that's what it is in terms of at least a form factor. Again, we don't know the specs 100%. Obviously, we know what all the rumors and leaks are. It's the T239. It's Ampere based, but it's going to have some Lovelace backports, but primarily Ampere. It's going to have 12 gigs of RAM. It's going to have 4K and DLSS and ray tracing and all that stuff. Supposedly, it has 256 gigs of storage, which for any other platform would be nothing. But remember, the current Switch has 32 gigs by default and 64 gigs on the OLED. So that's a big upgrade in context of the original system. That's something that's going to be very important to remember with the Switch 2. Obviously, it's not going to be a PS5 or a Series X, and no one was expecting that. But what matters is not how close it is to those systems, it's how much better is it than the original system that we're all very much waiting for them to replace. But that's not to say it doesn't matter at all, because obviously I want the system to be as powerful as it can possibly be, because it's going to need every little bit of juice it can get to survive its 5+ year long life cycle, assuming it lasts as long as the current system has. So yeah, but I'm sure we'll talk more about the tech specs another time once we maybe hear more about them, or we do a discussion or something about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll go ahead and look at Mario Kart one last time before we wrap things up finally. This video is probably long enough, but hey, it's the Switch 2 reveal. It's a big enough deal. I can justify it being 30 minutes long or whatever. So yeah, I mean, obviously this is a 1080p trailer, so you can't really garner the image quality too heavily. But I would say, even though, again, this is not the best track to show off image quality on, because Mario Kart 8, even to this day, is a beautiful looking game. You can tell it's a Wii U game for sure. It's not a PS5 or even a PS4 game, but it looks really, really good still, for the most part. The base game. Obviously, the booster course tracks are a different story, but the base game looks really good. Still, even in 2025, you boot that sucker up on Ryujinx at 4K, it looks fantastic still. And I wasn't expecting Mario Kart 9 to radically change that much, because I mean, how much better can it really look? And again, it's kind of hard to tell how good it's gonna look, because this is not the best track to show off how good it's gonna look. Because it's a very, it's a flat track with not much on it. Once we get to see a city track or something with a lot more going on, then we'll be able to be like, wow, look how good it looks. But my cursory glances, it looks, I can tell that it does look better, at least in the character model department. Because I will say, the one aspect of Mario Kart 8 that is, you can tell it's from that era, is the character models. They don't look bad by any means, but you can tell their polygon count could definitely be better. The polygon count in Mario and Odyssey, you can tell is higher than the polygon count of him in Mario Kart 8. So that's probably going to be the biggest improvement, at least from this trailer, is you can tell that Mario, even from this compressed 1080p trailer that's probably a 6 megabit trailer, even I can tell that he has a lot more polygons on him. So yeah, but again, in terms of looking at the lighting and the textures and stuff, it's kind of hard to tell from this compressed trailer, but I can tell it's at least as good as Mario Kart 8. So, and by Mario Kart 8, I mean base game Mario Kart 8, not Booster Pass Mario Kart 8. I have to clarify that now, because we basically have two different games, right? There's main Mario Kart 8 with the base tracks and the original Wii U DLC that looks really good. And then there's the Booster Course Pass that was clearly made by the tour team at the last second for whatever reason. And don't get me wrong, the Booster Course Pass it's cool that we got it, but obviously the image quality is not nearly as good as the base game, even at its best. Although there definitely are good looking tracks in the Booster Course Pass, but you get what I'm saying. It's definitely not as good as the base game, and everyone agrees on that. But yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's gonna look better than Mario Kart 8. Not dramatically better, because Mario Kart 8 already looked pretty good, but I can tell the polygon counts on the characters are definitely better. So we just need to see, once we get one, now here's a question. Will they put out 4K trailers for these, or are they going to stick to 1080p? I really hope that when they start putting out, like, okay, I get not doing it for this, but like when they start putting out like the game trailers, please do them in 4K. The console's gonna be 4K capable. Put out the trailers in 4K like everyone else, so that we can have higher bitrate trailers and those, so they can just look better. But yeah, I could tell this is gonna be a pretty good looking game, though, even based off of the simple track, which again is not obviously the best showcase. But I can already tell that once we get to see like a city track or something like that, it's gonna look pretty good. Oh yeah, let me. What about characters? I didn't really think about that. I mean, we saw that there's the Donkey Kong, retro Donkey Kong. Aside from that, I didn't see anything else that was particularly new. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of new carts, no duh. I didn't see any new characters. Maybe someone will be like, "Oh, look, there's a new character in there." I didn't see it personally though. So yeah, I wish they just told us like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be like this because we've waited this long. But would it have killed them to say like Q2 2025 instead of just 2025? They could have said that last year and we would have been okay with it because it wasn't 2025 yet, but it's now 2025. So couldn't you tell us something a little more specific than that? But again, the rumors are it's coming out in April, and they told us there's going to be an April Direct, so yeah, that is significantly bigger. Now, I don't know how big that is compared to like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally, because I don't have a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally, so I don't know that. But I'm guessing it's probably, but it looks like it's, at least from an eyeball perspective, it looks like it's probably going to be about comparable in size to one of those, I imagine, at least in terms of the screen. Obviously, like the sides are probably bigger on those other handhelds, but because they're not Joy-Cons that have to be pulled on and off. But this definitely looks a lot better. Bigger hopefully means more comfortable to use in handheld mode. I don't use my Switch in handheld mode, like hardly ever. But obviously better handheld use is always a good thing. I will say I think the font is kind of funny for this. This looks like the kind of thing that I would make. Like this, like I mean, I have all of the official fonts and I do use them. But like I have this font, I have this font, but like it's kind of funny how like they didn't even do, like, why not have it be like the Switch 2 logo then Direct? Like, why is it Nintendo Direct and then just Nintendo Switch 2? Like, why didn't they do like the logo and then Nintendo Direct? I don't know, and then Direct, like how how whenever there's like a Smash Direct, it's, the Super Smash Bros. Logo and then Direct. It's not Nintendo Direct Super Smash. I don't know. It's a semantic thing. I know it doesn't really matter, but like, I don't know. Like it does feel just a tad lazy. just a tad lazy that they didn't put like the logo. Like, why is it not officially just Nintendo Switch 2 Direct? Instead, it's Nintendo Direct, Nintendo Switch 2. Again, I know it doesn't really matter. I'm just complaining here because I don't know. And then yeah, this. Okay. I think we're finally done. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything as thoroughly as I really could have. Okay, so there we go. That is the Switch 2, finally, after what feels like ages. Well, the rumor mill is finally over, at least for the hardware. The thing is finally official, which means that developers can finally tell the world that, hey, our game is on the Switch 2. We don't have to hide it anymore. Because the thing is official, and we have a logo, and we have, well, not a release date, but we have a timeline. We know that we're going to get April, that's where we're going to get all the games, we're going to get the price point, we're going to get the release date, and all that stuff. But, yeah, so, again, I'm kind of annoyed that they didn't tell us about this beforehand. This was just shadow dropped. Like, you don't shadow drop the Switch 2, but it is what it is, so. Thank you all for watching. If you're still here, this video has been going on for probably way too long at this point. But again, this is the Switch 2. I can make an exception for it. To do a reaction video that's this long. I mean, come on, this is a big deal. I can make the exception for it. But yeah, so Switch 2. Obviously, shocker. I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely the most anticipated thing of the year for me by far. There are definitely a couple other things I'm looking forward to that will probably be announced this year as well. But this is obviously the big one. This is like the top of the poll, 100%. And you can bet your ass I'm going to do everything in my power to get one of those day one. I am going to make sure that when that thing goes up for pre-order, I can just jump on it immediately. Because I remember 2017. Forget 2020. Forget 2020. Because everyone will be like, oh man, the PS5. And yes, that was really bad. And I know because I was there. And I remember trying to get a PS5 in 2021 and having to constantly check nowinstock.com and the Telegram notifications. Like, I did everything I could to find one that was on sale for MSRP. And then finally I got lucky, and Sony sent me an email that was like, hey, you know, we're going to send you a link. You've been selected, you know, because you can sign up for an email. And they're like, hey, you've been selected. You can join in at like 10 a.m. and, you know, first come, first serve, whatever. And I was able to get one. Will there be something like that with the Switch 2? We don't know. Obviously, hopefully we don't get scalpers that ruin this for people. But here's the thing, though. The pandemic era, you know, 1 to 2 year shortage of the PS5 and Series X, that's not going to be a thing with the Switch 2. Because 1, the pandemic isn't a thing anymore. And 2, because in 2017, before any of that happened, the Switch 1 was unobtainium for like the first month. I know, because I tried to get one in March of 2017 and I couldn't. I couldn't get one at launch because I didn't have the money for it, but I got my money for it not too long after it came out, and then I was just constantly checking and calling to try and get one. And then finally, like in early April of 2017, GameStop had a bundle they had a bundle for the gray one. I wanted the red and blue one, of course, but they only had the gray one. But hey, whatever, it's a Switch. That's all that mattered at that point. They had one with the gray Joy-Cons that had Breath of the Wild and the expansion pass, and it came with like snipper clips and like I think one other thing as well. And I was like, okay, yes, I was gonna buy Breath of the Wild anyway, even though I already had it on Wii U. Of course, I wanted the Switch version, so I was gonna buy that anyway. So got the bundle, and then I was set. And that's the Switch I've been running this entire time. I'm still running my April 2017 Switch. That's basically a launch model. It's basically a launch Switch. I didn't get it literally day one on March 3rd, but it's basically a launch Switch in all but name. It even has the 2016 copyright on the back that only like launch era Switches have. So yeah, it's a launch era Switch. So I can homebrew it, and I do homebrew it. But yeah, okay, I'm going on way too long. Well, let's actually end this thing. Yeah, the point is, yeah, I'm gonna do everything in my power to get this sucker on day one. But we'll see, because obviously everyone else is gonna want one too. So we'll see how that goes down. But again, thank you everyone for watching. There will probably be a discussion with me and Ethan about this. Maybe. I mean, I wanted to do a discussion video on the Switch 2 a long time ago, but eventually it got to a point where I was like, let's just wait for the thing to be announced. And now the thing is announced. But is there enough stuff in it for us to justify a discussion, or should we wait until April? I don't know. We'll see. Point is, stay tuned for future content related to the Switch 2. I guess that's what matters. Obviously, when that April Direct happens, obviously I'm going to stream it like everyone else, because why wouldn't I? Yeah, so I guess that's it. Finally, for real this time. Thank you all for watching, and with that being said, this is Logan59XP, and I will see you guys next time.